The card that most know as the Hermit began as the archetype of Father Time and has an esoteric meaning of power. Hello, I'm Michael J. Auger, creator of the Allcento Tarot, and it's time to take a closer look at the 9th card of the Tarot's Major Arcana. When counting, the number 9 is the largest digit before a second digit is added. Numerologically speaking, this represents the powerful top of the cycle, and it's fitting that this number is linked with a very powerful archetype. The Visconti-Sforza depiction of this arcana features a man with a long white beard, wearing a robe and a two-tiered hat, both trimmed in gold fur. In one hand, he holds a long walking stick, and in his other hand, he carries an hourglass. He has traveled a long way in his long life and looks left, backwards, to the past, as if to reflect on the powerful wisdom of hindsight. The earliest version of this card was likely to have had a similar appearance to the Bolognese design seen on the Beaux Arts Rothschild sheets. In this version, the archetype of time is depicted as an old man with a split beard stepping through a doorway. He walks hunched over on crutches as time can pass by slowly, but also has wings as time can also fly by swiftly. Around his waist is a bag suggesting he carries the heritage of the past with him. Scholar Gertrude Moakley suggested that Petrarch's series of poems titled Triumphi that were written in the 14th century were likely to have had an influence on the original creators of the tarot. These poems describe a dream in which a series of allegorical figures triumph over each other. In the text, only the allegory of love is described as riding on a chariot, but it became standard for illustrators to give all the main figures their own chariot, and the chariot of time was pulled by stags. It's for this reason the Minchiate style versions of this card often include a stag. This depiction also includes an hourglass pierced with an arrow, alluding to the powerful and swift nature of time. Marseille style depictions swap the hourglass with a lantern, and the original archetype of Father Time starts to change to the depiction of a hermit. The main idea of a wise old man with powerful wisdom obtained from quiet reflection on the past still carries through, although perhaps slightly more disguised. The light of the lantern the hermit carries is partially obscured by his cloak. Esotericists have suggested this implies that the wisdom of the hermit may not be equally shared with everyone. Occultist Oswald Wirth explained that without insulation, there cannot be concentration, and without concentration, the work of a magician cannot be accomplished. Freemasons understand the importance of secrecy. The version of this card created by Oswald Wirth continues the Marseille tradition of a lantern being protected by the hermit's cloak. However, a new addition is a snake or serpent at the hermit's feet. A serpent is a symbol of wisdom and alludes to Asclepius, the son of Apollo, known as the god of medicine. And it is said that time heals all wounds, so I personally love the addition of a serpent. Moving forward in time, the version of this card created by Arthur Edward Waite and Pamela Colman Smith places the hermit up on a mountaintop, looking back down. Waite interpreted this arcana as representing attainment of knowledge. The lantern holds a 6-pointed star, which can be seen as the light of occult science. This alchemical symbol, also called the Seal of Solomon or the Star of David, represents the union of opposites and represents the spiritual power and knowledge the hermit has attained. However, unlike earlier depictions, the lantern isn't hidden, but shines as the light of the world for all to see. Waite considered the divine mysteries secure from those unprepared to see the light, and so presented the hermit as a guide rather than a protector. History is written by the victors, and there is great power in being able to create our own stories. The version of this card created by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris transforms the head of the hermit into an ibis to link him to Thoth, and his body is in the shape of Yod, which is the Hebrew letter that the Golden Dawn linked to this arcana. Yod means hand, and the Hermit's hand that holds a lantern can be seen at the very center of this card. The diamond-shaped lantern is a link to Kether through Tippereth, the highest expression of the powerful divine within us. In the background, there are stalks of wheat, which is a link to the astrological sign of Virgo, and also the idea of the growth of wisdom from inner contemplation. Towards the bottom of the card is Cerberus, the three-headed hound of Hades, who represents the three qualities of our lower self. His left head, with mouth open, represents speech. His right head, turning around, represents action. And his middle head, higher than the other two, represents thought. By taming these aspects of our lower self, we allow them to rise to become a powerful expression of our higher self. The staff of the Hermit is depicted as a spermatozoon, representing the potential of life. Above this, the Orphic egg can be seen, which is a symbol of the manifested but subjective universe of the individual. The gaze of the Hermit is focused on this in order to better know himself. This brings to mind a passage from The Auguries of Innocence by William Blake that states, "To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour." And here's a version of this arcana from the Allcento tarot. This version returns to the original title of Time, and has a more traditional depiction of an old man with a split beard. The split beard represents past and future. And he holds an hourglass that also is illuminated to look like a lantern, and he rests on a crutch, but also has outstretched wings, and he's accompanied by a serpent of wisdom, and faces left towards the past and a setting sun. Through a doorway, an obelisk can be seen, decorated with an arrow created from 9 connected lines. The arrow points upwards towards enlightenment. This obelisk acts as a sundial, casting a shadow to mark the time. Time is meaningful because meaning is embedded in time. We measure time in seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. However, all of these measurements are only artificial constructs that help us make sense of our experience. Time is actually an illusion. The mainstream understanding of time is a line extending infinitely into both the past and the future. However, some have suggested that time is actually more like a circle. If time and space are infinite, then everything that happens has happened before and will eventually happen again and again. Like an Ouroboros snake chasing its own tail. History has a habit of repeating itself, and there is huge power in understanding and anticipating these cycles. And that's all the time we have today, but I promise our journey will continue soon. And until then, you can always visit my website, offbeatartwork.com. Also, please take the time to link, subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you've watched until the end of this episode, post an hourglass emoji to show your support. And until next time, brightest blessings on your spiritual journey.